Hi, everybody. This is Mark A. Rivera, and today I'm going to read a short chapter from my novella released in 2016 entitled First Mover, First Maker. This is chapter 5, The Circles. Samantha opened the door slowly to find an earnest young man. Look, I'm sorry, I have to start over again because I did not prepare ahead of time. So you guys are getting the raw deal here. Chapter 5, The Circles. Samantha opened the door slowly to find an earnest-looking man standing before her. His hair was receding in an angular fashion, with shades of gray sprinkled throughout as if someone had sprinkled salt on his hair. He smiled and extended his hand toward her. "I'm Dr. Terry Nation. You must be Samantha. It's a pleasure to meet you." Samantha shook his hand quickly, but kept a stance of distance from him. "What can I do for you?" "I was wondering if we could talk inside. It's rather personal." "I prefer I know who you are first," she replied. Terry Nation clicked his heels together and said, "Dr. Edelman sent me to pick up something." Samantha replied somberly, "Edelman is dead." Terry's eyes widened as his mouth dropped open in shock. "Good Lord." He looked rather embarrassed. "If," he said slowly, "I could come in for a moment. I really need a drink." Samantha stared at him cautiously. "Just a moment." Inside, Terry was sipping a glass of mineral water and spoke somberly. "Dr. Edelman and I met while investigating crop circles in Wiltshire." "Crop circles?" Samantha asked curiously. "Yes," Terry replied. "We were investigating their apparent effect upon human consciousness." "Really?" Terry continued. "See, together we measured the circles across the area and found that the real ones, that is, those that weren't man-made, measured about 300 meters across, so the same diameter as Stonehenge. These things have been appearing in Japan, Italy, France, Australia, Canada, England, and here in the US for at least 5,000 years." Samantha asks, "What do you think causes them if they're not man-made?" Terry paused to take a sip of water. "Dr. Edelman and I came to the conclusion that they may be the result of compressed kinetic energy impacting as a result of our human consciousness interacting within the space-time continuum. We call it the plasma vortex. So in a sense, they are man-made after all. That would explain the apparent constant attraction people have had to the phenomenon when it's been kept unannounced to the public," Terry replied. "Interesting," Samantha said. "But if that's why you're here, I can't help you. I don't have any of Dr. Edelman's notes or interests on crop circles, though I have to admit it interests me." "I've come for something specific," Terry answered. "Saul told me he left something with you, something important for the benefactors." "The benefactors?" "Yes," Terry answered. "They operate under the guise of the RA Corporation as sponsors funding advanced search in the paranormal." Terry finished his drink, then moving closer to Samantha. "I think that regardless of Saul's unfortunate circumstances, it would be in all of our best interests if you provide me with the envelope he told me he gave you." Samantha stared at him silently. Terry continued, "I'm sure that's what he would have wanted." Samantha spoke solemnly. "I'm sorry, but Saul never gave me anything before he died." Terry looked disappointed and concerned as Samantha, "Are you sure?" "Yes," she replied. "Pity. I don't see how we can complete the God's funnel without that information." Samantha looked at him curiously. "The God's what?" "The God's funnel," Terry replied. "It's the title of the project Sol and I were collaborating on." "Didn't he tell you?" "No." Terry got up from his chair and pulled out a business card and a pen and wrote on the back of the card. He then handed it back to Samantha and said, "If you should come across anything that can help me, I'll be staying at this hotel overnight." "Okay." Terry began to leave. Samantha walked with him to the door and said, "I'm sorry. I was rude to you before. It's just that after all of this was so totally unexpected, Saul was just a very special person to me." "Indeed," Terry continued. "I'll be available only till tomorrow. In light of what's happened, I must go to the benefactor's headquarters, the RA Corporation." "Precisely. Where are they located?" "Silicon Valley." Samantha opened the door for him. He extended his hand to her again. This time Samantha shook it firmly. "It's been a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Nation." "Always," replied Terry. "What?" He smiled at her. "You must get involved more, Miss Maxwell. You know, when destiny calls." He then turns away and left. Samantha shut the door behind him, feeling confused. She walked to her bag and pulled out Saul's envelope. She took out the x-rays and remembered Saul's words. "This breakthrough is too big to keep to myself. I want you to be involved." Samantha then looked out her window to see if she could see Terry on the street. There was no sign of him. As she placed the x-ray back in her bag, she thought to herself, "What's the God's funnel?" Now is a great time for anybody, regardless of whether you're a writer or an artist of any type, or if you're just a normal person that has absolutely no interest in the arts or is maybe curious, to take some of this time now that we're in this locked in situation, if you will, to practice your art or discover your art, because everybody has some. So this has just been a short read once again from First Mover, First Maker. It was a bit raw. I'm sorry about that, because I didn't even bother rereading the chapter before I read it. I just read it straight out. But this is a novella that's available now at bookstores on and offline everywhere. If you don't see it, it can be ordered, or you can order it directly from Amazon, which is also available on Kindle. Anyway, thank you for your time and consideration, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye now.